Hi, this is an Empower Quick Hits on automated email reminders, subscriptions, and notifications. Just a little bit about myself. My name is Derrick. I'm a customer support representative with the QuickBase Care Support Team. I've been with the team for about 2.5 years now. And prior to QuickBase, I worked in the nonprofit sector in the human services industry for about 10 years, with my last position being a program director of a family congregate shelter for the Middlesex Human Services Agency. What this session is about, we're going to take a look at the 3 automated email types provided within QuickBase and how to use them to improve workflow and keep everyone updated and in the know. Before we dive in, here are just some quick, interesting stats that help put into context how email usage has become part of our everyday life and workplace. The one that stood out the most was the first one. The average employee spends about 13 hours of their 40-hour work week in their email inbox. And there's no surprise there. Email's been around for such a long time. It's been upgraded. The technology has been upgraded so many different times. It's a robust functionality at this point. All right, so listed are the 3 available email types that can be utilized within QuickBase. First, we have notifications. These are emails that are triggered based on an add, modify, or delete action. Next, we have subscriptions. You can use these to automatically send out reports to users on a periodic basis. And lastly, we have reminders, which is essentially the alarm clock of QuickBase. We utilize these to keep users on top of the important dates and deadlines that they need to meet. So regardless if you're going to utilize one of these email types or all of them, at the end of the day, each one will provide you with a tremendous amount of value contingent on the needs of your use case. On this slide, I've listed a couple of items that require some thought before we start building and configuring automated email types. The first thing you need to think about is the reason. Why or when does an email need to be sent? The second is recipients. Who needs to receive this email? Who's going to be your target audience? And lastly, information. What data do the recipients need to see or should be receiving? And again, these are just some ideas to think about. And if you can provide yourself with answers with these, they will make configuring automated email types a breeze. So let's start with reminders. Reminders, again, the alarm clock of QuickBase, and can be utilized to make sure that deadlines are met, or a reminder that a deadline was missed and needs action. All you need to do is select a relevant date field to trigger the reminder, as well as some additional criteria if you so desire to bolster up the reminder and make it a tad bit more specific for your needs. Once the reminder is triggered, a report is emailed to the designated recipients, and this will list all the relevant records that meet the identified criteria. All the information that is presented on the report will derive from the default table report that is assigned to the table where the reminder was created on. And lastly, reminders can only be sent out to registered QuickBase users. This is a security feature to help keep your data secure and private. Next, we have subscriptions. And as I mentioned before, subscriptions are emails that are utilized to send out updates and reports based on a specified frequency. As you can see on the screenshot, you can choose to send these emails daily, weekly, or monthly. Just like reminders, you can only target and attach reports that have been created on the subscription source table. Currently, you can configure report subscriptions to only send out table reports, summary reports, calendar reports, and timeline reports. Next, you have the following option deliveries. You can send subscription emails to yourself. You can send them to users with access to your application, ergo registered users. You can send them to users in one or more role. You may want to take a little bit of caution here. You may want to review the permissions of the available roles before making a selection here. Should a role not have access to a field or a table that is referenced in the attached report, users assigned to that role will not be able to view the email at all. And for the last choice, you can target a specific list of users. And this option requires that you physically type out the recipient email addresses that you want to send the email to. And the last thing, last point of order here is you need to choose the format you want to send the report in. And the 3 available options are text inline in email. This will display the message in the body of the email. And the latter 2 are PDF file and CSV file. Both are sent as file attachments and can be previewed from within the email or downloaded to your desired device. Finally, we have notifications. Again, as you can see in the screenshot on the right, the settings page layout is very similar to the previous 2 email types, But notifications have three aspects that require just a little bit more attention to detail, and those are the permission type, the message type, and the custom message notification type. For this email type, I will transition over to my demo app so that we can take a quick look at configuring it for an email notification. Because again, as I mentioned, it requires just a little bit more attention to detail, and it best serve you if I can just actually walk you through building a notification. All right, back in. All right, so now that we're in my app demo, first things first, you want to make sure that you're on the table that you're going to create this automated email type on. And again, we're focusing on notifications because I've already discussed the previous two. And like I said, notifications require just a little bit more attention to detail. So we're going to start on the projects table. Once you're on the projects table, you're going to want to navigate to the table settings so you can access the automated email homepage. You can access the table settings by clicking this settings icon right here, located in the upper left corner of the screen. Under the table settings, you want to navigate your mouse over to the right, third column, where it's labeled workflow and permissions. And there you'll see the automated email type at the top of the list. This is the automated email homepage. This will list any automated email that is created on the table that you chose. As you can see, I have a couple different automated emails listed. I've created about 3 subscription reports, a reminder for myself, and 2 two notification emails just for testing purposes. And again, I just want to point out, this provides you with a little bit of information that you can see at a bird's eye view. You have the name of your email type, the details of what causes its trigger, or the reason, the triggering settings that you set for it, the type of automated email that it is, the owner, the creator, who the recipients are. And here with this grayed out checkbox, if you click on it, this will activate the email. So if you don't want to use the email, or if you just need to restructure it at some point in time, you can just click on that. It will turn it on and off, and it won't trigger at all. And then lastly, you can delete it by hitting this X. And if you do decide to create multiple different types of notifications or any type of automated email, and if you decide that the first one that you created was a very solid build and a configuration, you can just hit this button right here, which will copy it, and then you can work off that already solid configuration that you've already provided yourself, and then you can make subtle changes to it to make to adjust your needs. So let's create a notification. So bring your mouse all the way to the upper right corner of the screen, and you can hit this blue button that says New Email. When you do that, a pop-up will appear on your screen, and this will list all of the automated email types available to you. And again, we've already covered subscriptions and reminders, so we're just gonna focus on notifications here. All right, here's the notifications layout page, and like I mentioned earlier, it was very similar to the previous 2 layouts for the settings for the subscriptions and reminders. But as I mentioned, there are 3 aspects to configuring notifications that you need to pay attention to. First is the permission type. You can pick from recipients or open emails. If you pick recipient, this will deliver to users with access to your application, ergo registered users. You will want to double check all the recipients' permissions in the application, since any restrictions to fields or tables will keep them from viewing the information. If you decide to pick open notification, this will let you send emails that are emails to users that are not associated to a QuickBase profile, ergo not a registered user. Please note that if you select this option, you'll need to submit a support ticket to the QuickBase support team to enable sending to external email addresses. Moving on, again, just like any other email type, you can use this section to specify who receives this notification. And if you drop down this menu, you'll see that you're provided with a couple of different options: users in the field record owner, last modified, or you can send it to yourself if you are the individual in the record owner or last modified field, and as well as yourself again, all users with access to the application or access to the projects table, and a specific list of users again. Notifications are triggered by a modify, add, or delete action. This section here notification when will provide you with various options to choose from to specify your triggering event. So if you drop this down, you'll see that you can, your notification can get triggered based off of somebody modifying the record, adding a record, deleting a record. You can even combine those by saying, hey, when a project is modified or added, or when a project is modified, then deleted, or when all three options apply, trigger the notification. And just like reminders, you can add additional criteria to kind of bolster that up to your specific needs to make sure that this this notification triggers based on what you need it to trigger for. And you can add additional fields, and you can select additional options. You can pick, a checkbox field and only send this notification out, notification out when it's equal to checked. All right. So the second item to note is located under the email context section. That's the notification message type. Now you can choose default record notification, which will let the system generate a simple notification with the information about who made the change, what changes were made, and where they can find the change. And as you can see, you can type in whatever you would like for a subject header. This is working. And you can also add field markers here, which will provide you with a list of relevant fields, and you can just pick them, and then it will pretty much pull a field marker within the subject headline, and it will just assign that, and it will display the actual field name that you chose. You can also make use of the markers at the end of it, which will provide you with some details for your application and the information that you're trying to provide your recipients. The alternative to this is the custom record notification. Now, when you make this selection, you will notice that you have two available options: a single record notification, a single record version, and a multiple record version. Single record versions will trigger when a record is modified and will include a copy of the record that changed in the message of the body of the email. Not only do single record notifications allow you to select the desired form to use for the email right here, but it also lets you target code pages like rich text pages. It will let you target custom data entry forms, ergo code pages and rich text pages, and you can use HTML, JavaScript, some higher level coding language to provide you with the form that you need for your data entry. Alternatively, you have multiple record notifications. These are sent when multiple records meet the selected criteria. And usually this means that someone either grid edited or conducted a search and replace action in the system. Now, there are a few limitations to this notification type that you should be aware of. You cannot target any custom data entry forms when selecting the multiple record notification type. Coupled with the open permission type, this does not function as intended. When a triggering event occurs and the notification attempts to send a message to a recipient whose email address appears in an email address field type, the targeted recipients will only receive a message for a single record change notification, usually just for the first record that met the criteria initially. And lastly, you got the message format. This here will let you kind of tailor this to your needs. So if you did want to inject some HTML in there, it would be able to display by selecting the HTML radio button. And if you just want to display it in plain text only, which will make it a lot easier for a lot of email service providers to read, you can also choose that as well. Lastly, if you so desire, you can have both record notification types send out emails. By configuring both types to do so, but it doesn't work as expected when multiple records change simultaneously. An email with all the changed records is sent to the email address that appear in every record that was changed. Now, for more information on the limitations and guidance on how to set up custom multiple record change notifications, please refer to the virtual Empower Quick Hit session titled Customizing Multiple Record Notifications, moderated by David Pontier, Senior Project Leader for KI Industries. There will be some useful information that correlates with the Quick Hit session. And, I've met David Pontier. He is very, very knowledgeable with QuickBase. Lastly, you can hit the preview button at the top so you can see what the notification email will look like when it sends out in your desired format of choosing. So I'm going to exit here, and I'm going to pick one of my already built emails. And I'm going to hit preview right here. And again, this will just give you a preview of the HTML version. And again, any changes made will be listed in red. And the text version. This is the inline text version. Excuse me, the plain text only version. This will display directly into the body of the email. All right. Now that we reviewed all the automated email types, I just wanted to touch base on a few key points that can be useful to you down the road as you begin to make use of this feature. First things first, making sure your registered users are Realm approved and verified. I have seen instances where recipients that are registered users in QuickBase did not receive the email at all, and that's because their Realm approval wasn't confirmed. Second, in order for any QuickBase app to send email to non-registered users, you will need to enable the Allow External Email feature. This can only be enabled by having a designated account admin submit a support ticket to the QuickBase care team, and we can take care of that for you as soon as possible. Also, enabling this feature also only applies to record change notifications strictly. You cannot include unregistered users as recipients for subscriptions and email reminders. And lastly, consider using a checkbox or a formula checkbox field type to add an extra boost to your notifications. They are great for triggering notifications in a very speedy fashion, because in our backend, they are very simply Boolean statements, and it's either yes or no or true or false, and that's a very instantaneous click. And thank you so much for tuning into this Quick Hits. Again, it's a very focused presentation. I hope you found this very useful, and don't forget to tap into David Pontier's customizing multiple record notifications. Quick Hits, it's a very useful quick hit session, and you'll find it very useful for your needs.